John and I we're just grateful that it sold out, but at the same time, we're like, we want more people to be able to see it.
Hey, this is John Bernatovich, president and founder of Willory. Super excited to be joined today with a dear friend and colleague, Jamie Myers, and wanted to put some time together with Jamie as we're working very closely on the DisruptHR Columbus event. As many of you know, we've had to suspend due to the COVID pandemic and obviously inability to socially gather at this time. So we're trying to continue some content and insight as it relates to what people within the HR community are doing during this unique time, and talk a little bit about ways that we can support human resources, as well as some excitement for DisruptHR Columbus, which we were really disappointed we can't put on April 30th, but we will be doing something virtually to bring to the community on that day. So please stay tuned for that. So Jamie and I have been working together for, I think, longer than both of us would like to admit. We were both a little younger when we first started working with one another. I had far less gray hair, and I know Jamie's hairstyles changed a few times. Some of those times I may not have noticed, which is shame on me. But Jamie is a staffing manager at Willory. She works tirelessly to work with our candidates on job opportunities that we have, connecting people to great opportunities, as well as providing career counsel and guidance. She is the chair of DisruptHR Columbus and had done a fantastic job in finding us a really cool venue, as well as then selling out in a very short period of time and having a great level of sponsors, and had poured her heart into the event. But you can follow Jamie on social at Jamie N. Myers, so Jamie, N as in Nicole, Myers, Myers. So Jamie, fill us in on what's going on, how you're doing, and if I missed any major points about you.
You pretty much covered it. I figured the interview was going to be over now.
I'm good at that.
But no, we, John and I have been working together, going on 9 years. So I'm not afraid to say it. We definitely were younger then. I started the company right out of college. So graduated from Ohio State, had the pleasure of taking a few months off, and at the age of 22, joined Willory. And what I always tell people when they hear that I was 22 is that I didn't feel 22 at the time. John kind of threw me in the deep end, and I couldn't have asked for a better boss to do that. He hooked me up with national IREM events where I was going at the age of 22, 23 and not knowing anybody and flying to Chicago. And I would say that I grew up pretty fast, with Willory, and being able to wear multiple hats, starting as a business development manager, doing some sales, doing some client relations, doing some recruiting, doing marketing. It's really allowed me to be able to see every single department of Willory and really just expand my skill set. So I'm very blessed for the almost 9 years it's been, and would be happy to share kind of what's going on with my situation personally and professionally with this crazy COVID stuff.
Yeah, Jamie, you remind me of my dear friend Jimmy Logue introduced me to Jamie. They worked together more than 9 years ago back in Springfield, and Jimmy was my roommate in college. So I'll have to make sure to, whenever we post this, connect with him on social so he can share the fact that we're still working together. He asks me every time I see him, how's Jamie doing? So good man. So now, obviously, we're maybe not obviously, some people may not know, we've been virtual at Willory from day one. So we work out of our homes, and I'm just curious, Jamie, about the other critters, because I know you have critters and family members that you have that are working with you at home, and how you're balancing all that.
Yeah, as John mentioned, it's been a pretty easy transition. I already had my virtual setup, my office was in my home, my second screen, everything that I need to be successful with the job. As far as who's keeping me company and who has continued to keep me company over the years with Willory, I do have a 9-year-old boxer pit lab mix. Her name is Miss Dolce Marie Myers. She is my teenager diva daughter. Jared and I, my husband, do not have children yet, so she's very much a child and my child. And most recently, we did have an 8-year-old pit mix that unfortunately passed away. So we feel a little bit off kilter these days, but we're spending a lot of time with Dolce. I have an adopted nephew, Kitty. So his name is Morrison, and he's named after Jim Morrison. My sister is absolutely a hippie, so we call him Morrison or Momo. And then every once in a while, my husband Jared will try and keep me company, but most of the time he gets kicked out because he comes in while I'm on the phone, and I'll be on the phone and he'll be asking me what I want from the grocery, and it just doesn't work out. So I try to keep my boundaries with him in particular.
I feel you. That happens to me multiple times a day. And the mute button is a beautiful thing. I think maybe only one time in 10 years of doing this, I didn't have the mute button on, and man, was that embarrassing. And on a maybe not so lighter moment, Jamie and I have unfortunately experienced the loss of a loved canine. We had to put our dear, adorable Zeke down on Monday. So her and I have been able to share some very intimate and personal feelings about those canines. That I miss that dog tremendously. It's crazy how they find a way into your heart, and especially maybe even a little bit worse when you work from home because you're around them all the time. So Jamie, as it relates to you being a staffing manager and all the things you've done at Willory, tell me why you do what you do.
Sure. So I am not just a staffing manager. I am a therapist. I am a marketer. I'm a matchmaker, and sometimes I'm a stalker. So, I do what I do to assist people in making one of the most important decisions of their life. And that's where and why and when to spend 40 hours of your life. So it's a huge decision. I love being in the middle of it. It's not about me. It's not about my company. It's about making sure that you, the candidates, are in an organization that feels right, that is a good fit. And it's about making sure that your employer loves you as much as you love them. So really the matchmaking between the organization and the candidate is absolutely something I love to do. And I don't mind being a therapist every once in a while and getting to know my candidates personally.
I do remember early on in working with Jamie, it was amazing how many candidates unsolicited would call me to tell me how great she was in supporting them and providing that support. So I think the fact that you self-branded yourself as not only just a recruiter, but a therapist, a marketer, a support mechanism, the people that I know, countless people have shared that with me. So I appreciate that, and I know they do as well. So one of the reasons why we're doing this series is the COVID outbreak pandemic has put a pause on people being able to socialize, and we were gearing up for DisruptHR Columbus, the first inaugural event on April 30th. So I was just curious, Jamie, if you wouldn't mind sharing kind of the personal impact that COVID has had on you, and any experiences that you can share, maybe new that will come out of having gone through this.
Certainly, yeah. So what's funny is before this video call, I actually asked John if it was okay that I share some of this stuff because it's pretty transparent of what's going on, personally. I'm going to get into a little bit professionally as well. He was more than open to having that out there so that maybe other people don't feel like they're isolated. And so candidly, my husband and I's total income has diminished. I'm working part-time hours now for Willory due to a smaller workload that I'm sure a lot of recruiters are seeing and a lot of employers are seeing due to hiring freezes and putting projects on hold. My husband's roofing business is slower than normal. Luckily, he is considered an essential employee, but not being able to, spend time with the homeowners and, have that one-on-one conversation has been a little bit tough for us. So we are grateful of the Paycheck Protection Plan loan that I know John posted about on social media that Willory, applied for. So we definitely took full advantage of that and anticipate hopefully getting some of that assistance. Fingers crossed for relief for small business owners, right? Again, as far as a virtual environment, it was super easy because nothing really changed from that standpoint. I've been working in this manner for, again, 9 years, and Jared has been in and out of the house for about 3 years.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. Yeah, it's been, I keep telling people that we had a plan coming into this year, and then within 2 months we did an about face and had to make some really hard, difficult decisions, and those were not taken lightly. And I appreciate, Jamie, you partnering through that and accommodating that part-time schedule as we kind of navigate through these next few months. But I am hopefully cautiously optimistic and appreciative of what the federal and state governments have done to support small businesses. It's amazing. I just saw an ad yesterday from Verizon that caught my attention, almost put a tear to my eye, where they're highlighting and showcasing small companies on a kind of virtual simulcast or webcast that they have. So thank you for those of you that continue to support Willory and all the other small businesses that are out there, the restaurants, the roofers, the construction companies. Thank you for that. Anything, so having gone through this, James, is there anything new that you and Jared or your animals or your family have done that you're like, hey, that's not a terribly bad thing that came out of this very unique and stressful situation?
Yeah, so that's what I was going to say. It's not all been negative. I can share personally with some things that have changed a little bit for us for the better. But I've heard from friends, family, colleagues, candidates that everybody seems to have a really positive mindset about this and trying to pick out the positive things that comes from stay-at-home orders. So for me personally, and for my husband, we've been cutting back on unneeded expenses. So haircuts, nail appointments, my nails are gone, nail appointments, lawn services, Amazon purchases, that might be me. We've been cutting back, and that means that we're saving long-term on those things that are material and not necessarily a need, but a want. So that's been fun. I don't know if long-term I can give up the haircuts, but we'll see about that. We've really enjoyed the simpler life. And it forces us to focus on us and our family. It forces us to focus on spending that time together in the house. I like to take this time, and since I can't see my friends and my family, if I go to the grocery or I have to go to the grocery, asking them if they need anything, dropping off some flowers, dropping off some coffee or some groceries, just to make somebody smile. My girlfriend actually just before this call surprised me with a gift and a nice note. Just wanted to drop it off. So things like that, I highly encourage you guys to, be thoughtful and think of others.
That's awesome. Yeah, no, I would agree. Yeah, dinner time is different now at our house, and I know many others, maybe for you and Jared and those with kids, you always are going 9,000 miles an hour, and now dinner is an event, right? That's a big deal. So that and our family walks, we take those every night with the pups. So, well, so switching gears a little bit to disrupted human resources, right? As we talk through this concept, as an HR-minded professional, having worked with countless, if not thousands of those, from COVID's impact to you, for your work, your organization, maybe how you strategically looked at doing your job. What are you sensing and feeling there, Jamie?
Yeah, it's a good question. So as other organizations, ours has too been impacted by COVID-19. We've had to make, as an organization, some pretty tough financial decisions. So that's different, of course, but it is forcing us to really look at, what matters most to making our organization better. So, as far as strategy goes, I've continued to recruit and source the way that I always have, just kind of more with a patient mindset. So knowing that our clients might not get back to us right away. Not getting really frustrated once you find out that one of your, particular positions you've been working forever go on hold. Just really being more relaxed and realize that this is not necessarily what the candidates or clients want. It's something that has to be done during this time. As far as my personal workload, it was a little light at first, a couple weeks ago, but, fortunately we have had several, even direct hire positions come in the last week or so. So I am still busy, and I have plenty of work to do. I was a little scared there at first, but, we're all keeping our head down and recruiting for the people that are still hiring.
And to that point, to the HR population, or you have any suggestions or input as they kind of navigate through how they support their employees and an organization, or maybe you're hearing some of that during your interview conversations or when you're screening or sourcing candidates? Is there anything in particular that stood out to you in that regard, James?
Yeah, as I mentioned earlier, people have been really positive, especially the HR community. And I see on Twitter, everybody, being positive and sharing different stories personally and hashtagging HR community. Everybody's been super supportive already that I've seen personally. I think just the positivity and sharing vulnerable stories with your HR friends, it allows them to realize that they're not in it alone. So being positive, sharing, personal stories, and really just being patient overall. I think it's really important that we put ourselves in other people's shoes right now. We might be more fortunate than others that are having to deal with COVID differently. Yeah,
no doubt. Tremendous perspective, and patience is the word I've used continually as we navigate through what we're in and not knowing when the end is in sight. So that requires tons of patience. Lastly, on the HR organization and from your perspective, working with candidates that are in human resources and payroll, from a support perspective, and again, that patience that you're giving them, is there, and having maybe more candidates who are out of work now, and the impact of that, what are you seeing there, and what kind of support can you give them other than the patience and the helpful insights?
Yeah, so I think one of the hardest things from a professional standpoint is getting those emails, those messages, those texts from my candidates that are saying, I was laid off. Do you have anything? And, just making sure that I continue to share with my network individuals that are looking for jobs, as well as posting to, my social networks of the jobs that we're hiring for. Just really asking people to share my post and trying to emit the positivity that there are still companies hiring, and just making sure that people know, and networking with people more, just being open for conversations and dialogue with people that you might not necessarily be able to place and get money for, but just having those conversations so that you can potentially connect the dots with an organization or job position that you've seen that's available. Sure.
Yeah, and Jamie, you've mentioned that a few times. I give you tons of credit, having a reduced workload, obviously impacting your husband's business, staying positive in the midst of all that while, the rain is coming down and things seem somewhat uncertain. It's not easy every day to do that. And sometimes you do have to, I don't want to say put on a face, but you got to fake it sometimes a bit and drink a lot of energy drinks to make your way through that. So maybe there's your big plug, right?
Yes.
Stock up on energy drinks. All right. So speaking of energy, we had so much positive momentum around DisruptHR Columbus after getting the license some point in 2019. I do remember talking to Jen McGlure, and she said when Willory was signing on the dotted line to put the event on, she's like, "You are going to do this, right?" And I obviously had no idea this was coming, and I was very matter of fact that we were. And so I asked her why was she so specific about that, and she said there had been 4 different failed attempts of putting on DisruptHR in Columbus, and she wanted to make sure that we weren't going to be the 5th. Well, we will not be the 5th. We will put on this event at some point. It may not be how we traditionally thought it would be, depending upon social gatherings, but I'm just curious, Jamie, with you pouring your heart and soul into this for the last 6 months, frankly, and getting us to that point. I just wonder about your passion. What makes you so interested in Disrupt HR as a concept and bringing it to the Columbus community?
Yeah, so once this all happened and, events with 50 people and more were canceled, a lot of people were reaching out to me like, are you okay? Like your huge event was canceled, and my hairdresser was like, so you don't need your makeup done anymore, right? And everybody just reaching out. And for some reason, I just had this mindset where I was like, you know what, this has happened for a reason. Maybe we weren't completely ready. Maybe, there was more that we could have done and put into the planning. And now we have a little bit more time to make things better. What really excited me is the fact that we did sell out in a month, over 250 tickets, and we started waitlisting people. So I think we're like 20, maybe 50 people waitlisted deep that do not currently have a ticket. So, this has given us a chance to, really strategize around, should we get a bigger venue? Should we potentially open the doors up to more than 250 people? John and I were just grateful that it sold out, but at the same time, we're like, we want more people to be able to see it. It being the first ever Disrupt HR in Columbus, we got a lot of notoriety with the community, with Haraco, with just social media in general. And we want to be able to share and make it bigger. So, again, we have some time now to really bring out better things than maybe what we had planned originally. So super excited that we're still, we're still going to do it, guys. So we're still going to do the event. Might not be on April 30th. Well, it's not going to be on April 30th, but it's going to happen. So Jen, don't you worry about it. We're not going to be the 5th person to not have the event. We're definitely going to still have it. Just don't know the date yet.
Yeah, and we'll figure all that out, and time will pass, and it'll even be more special at the time when we do it, having gone through all of this. I do know one of the most unique things, we had a collaborative discussion with some of the sponsors and over half of the speakers just a week or so ago. And it was interesting to see the speakers potentially retooling some of the subjects or topics that they were planning on talking about to make it relevant to what is going on or will have gone on in the midst of doing something. We're targeting late summer or early fall, and we'll see how all that plays out. But Jamie, I really appreciate you taking the time. It was cool to connect with you in this forum. You've done a fantastic job with Disrupt HR Columbus to this point, and I'm with you. We will put this on come hell or high water, and we'll find a way to do it in the midst of COVID or not. And it'll be a delightful, special moment for the Columbus HR community, and we'll do it years to come. So
absolutely.
Thank you, Jamie, for your time.